Welcome back to another episode of I Said What We Said. I done finally caught up with my guy, Coach Threadgill, man, from Sparkman High School, the Senators. Yes, sir.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you for giving me the time, man. I know you're a busy man. A high school head coach is always a very busy person. So
Yeah,
I
man.
appreciate you for giving me the chance.
No problem. My pleasure.
I'm just gonna ask like where you from and for you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
And I'm from Tuskegee, Alabama. Went to Booker T. Washington High School. Finished high school in '99. Went on to Stillman College. Played 4 years of basketball at Stillman College, and pretty much started my coaching career at age 22. And so now I am entering year 22 and year 14 or 15 as a head coach. So
Okay.
just been around the block a few times. You know what I mean? Like been in some different communities, smaller and larger. Some cities, some a little bit more rural. So
Okay.
kind of got a wide range of dealing with different size communities and different demographics. And at the end of the day, basketball. You know what I mean?
True.
Basketball. So we just teach it fundamentally, and and we figure it out from there.
True. Hey, Coach, I'm gonna ask you, do you think that helped you in your coaching career as far as like your knowledge, your style, and everything by coaching in different size communities? Like, do you think that helped build who you are as a coach?
Definitely. I'm thankful that I have been to multiple places because it helps you to not be so dependent on sometimes. Obviously basketball is a talent driven game. You're only playing 5 kids at a time. But if you are from a community like Sparkman, where basketball is a big deal, if you're from an area like Huntsville, where basketball is a really big deal, and you are accustomed to having great point guard play, well, what do you do when you have to develop that? What do you do when you have talented inside guys, but then you have a job or you find yourself in a program where you're very guard oriented. You know what I mean? Like most of your production gonna come from guards. So I think being able to see different styles of play, being in different communities, is definitely a positive when it comes to that. Because I'm not really a one trick pony. We really can take advantage of guards, gigs, speed, pressure.
True.
Or we can walk it up and be slow and methodical. It just really depends on one, what our kids are comfortable doing, and two, what the other team is not comfortable dealing with, and we'll just play like that. You know what I mean? So it's just It's either trying to find a way to play to our strength or play to somebody else's weakness, or what we perceive to be their weakness.
Okay. I was doing some research and I was like, man, Coach got a lot of stuff under his belt, and I saw that you got a state championship under your belt, right?
Yeah, man.
Where did you win your state championship, and what was that run like?
Man, we won a state championship in 2015 in the large town of Lafayette, Alabama, which I owe a lot of credit to my career of being just in that community. It really embraced me and my family as I'm not from there. And I took over for a basketball coach that had been there 35 years. And the people of the community only knew his voice pretty much and his style of play, which was very up tempo. And I came in and we still ran, but we just ran more selectively. I was able to get in there in 2011. And so 2011 was my first year there. And our crosstown rival actually made the Final Four that year. And in 2013, we went to the Final Four and we went to the championship in my second year there. And we got beat, by a good Tanner High School that's up here in North Alabama. And you fast forward 2 more years and we right back there. And we were able to win it in 2015. And then in 2020, we made it back to the Final Four, in that community with a totally separate team. We had 3 Final Four teams that played basketball 3 different ways. And so I was able to just be around really good players, really good families, and I was, and they allowed me to really push their sons and they just trusted me to try to get the best out of their kids. We still got great relationships with those guys. I just had a birthday last week, and a lot of them reached out to me, and wished me a happy 44th. So I'm very appreciative of my time there, and we had a good 10-year run.
That's what's up.
Yeah, man. It was definitely a fun ride, and definitely a great time.
Hey, coach. Okay. I heard you where you said that at that particular school, that coach was there for 35 years. I'm not for sure how long Sparkman previous coach was there. I know it was a while.
About 10 or 11.
10 or 11. Is it difficult coming in behind any coach? It don't matter, who the coach is. Is it difficult coming behind a coach at a school that been there for a long time?
It's not difficult to me. I can see why it would be difficult for people sometimes.
The community. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can see why. Yeah. I mean, you got to get kids and families accustomed to a new voice, a new practice schedule, a new way of doing things, and that's not always easy for people when they have consistently played for one person or one genre. Obviously Coach Coggins was his own man, and I've only had the pleasure to meet Coach Coggins once, and we didn't really speak for very long. But Coach Coggins was on Coach Teague's previous staff. So
okay.
So there's a chance that he did a lot of things the way Coach Teague would have done those things. He would he would be his own man, but he would be a part of Coach Teague's coaching tree. Well, when you get somebody from another place with different lingo, I'm coming out of the south part of the state, coming up north. It just things are a little bit different. Though our vernacular is sometimes different. My mannerisms is different. Just things that I do are a little bit different. And so it just really takes, for parents and players trust. And for me, it takes diligence and it takes consistency, that I show up every day, that I'm the same person every day, that I'm going to consistently, be demanding every day. And if it's not your best, it's not good enough. You know what I mean? So I think that's the part that can get a little bit difficult. People say that you don't really want to follow the guy. Like you look at Alabama and you got this, this new, young head coach, and he's following, arguably the greatest coach ever, and he's finding some struggles and coming from where he's coming from, the Pacific Northwest, to come to Tuscaloosa where football is larger than life. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And I agree. That's not always easy, but I tend not to worry about that kind of stuff. I step in to jobs. I've already had success in multiple places with multiple players. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just teaching the material and just being demanding of my kids, of my coaches, being demanding of myself. And just really not listening, and definitely patience, but trying to communicate clearly, what our expectation is for our kids and for our program, what's our standard, and being to that standard every day. Getting ourselves to that standard, whether it be being on time, whether it be warming up properly, whether it be film study, just whatever those things are. Teamwork, ball movement. The list goes on and on and on. We're just trying to check enough boxes. We check enough boxes, good things happen. So I don't worry about anything that I can control. I don't worry about referees. I don't worry about, anything that's out of my purview. If I can control it, I'll worry about it and I do my best. And if I can't control it, I won't give any thought to it. It'll just be, I just really keep it about the business.
True.
The main thing, and that's trying to play good basketball.
True. That's what's up, coach. I'm gonna ask you. Okay, you didn't coach several. You didn't coach basically pretty much down south and up north. Can you say what is the difference that you see in southern basketball down south and then up here? Like, is there a big difference?
That's a great question. Obviously, these are all 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. So the difference is not a huge difference, but it can be a huge difference when you add it all up. So just in my opinion, and just my opinion, I just had the pleasure to be really everywhere in the state, with the exception of, really like low down south. Like I hadn't really been, on the Gold Coast. I hadn't been in Mobile. I hadn't been
Dothan and all that. Yeah.
But I was in Montgomery. So Montgomery, is not that far from Dothan. And Dothan is south. He up. I think the main difference is down there. You're sharing a lot of athletes. A lot of kids play football.
Yeah.
Those kids may not be as skilled as these kids up here. These kids up here tend to be a little bit skilled, a little bit more skilled than down south. They just
Right.
dribble a little bit better. They shoot a little bit better. Not a
Okay.
lot. Maybe 7 to 10% per kid, but that's your whole roster from the top of your
Gotcha.
roster to the bottom of your roster. They just pass it a little bit better. They know. Now your number one guy down there is going to be really good, and your number two guy down there is going to be really good. But we're talking about your third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh guy.
Right.
Uh, so that's one thing that I've noticed. Another thing that I've noticed is there's a lot of facilities up here. Kids can constantly get in and shoot 360. They can constantly get in. Every school has multiple gyms. You know what I mean? We have two on our campus, and we have the third one at S9. So kids have more resources when it comes to ability to get inside the gym and the ability to get with it. There are so many trainers. So regardless if you're a really big fan of training or if you're not a big fan of training, there are a lot of guys in our community with a lot of influence over the minds of our young people. You know what I mean?
True.
So that's another big difference. So sharing of athletes. Up here, you got a lot of kids that really play one sport, that really focus on one sport. Down south, you got multi-sport athletes. Down south, you got guys that are going to play with a lot of horsepower, with a lot of just rough, thoroughbred type of mentality, and they get that from the football field.
I agree.
Up here, you have a little bit of that too, but it's a whole lot more finesse. Down south, people are trying to drive the ball. You kind of daring people to take tough shots. Up here, these jokers want to shoot the ball. You know what I mean?
Right.
There are some differences in the approach, but I don't necessarily think per se overall the team play is a ton better. I think that guys are more skilled. I think guys dribble better and shoot better and play better 1-on-1 up here.
Okay.
When you get into 5-on-5, then you kind of back even. For the most part.
It's basketball.
It's still basketball. You know what I mean?
True.
So you just got to figure out the spacing of the floor that you want to play with, and you got to figure out, what are your motions going to be like. I noticed that there's a lot of off-ball screen happening up here. There's a lot of chin actions happening up here. There's a ton of. It's really difficult to press up here. Like you can press some, but people are getting that ball and they're gone. Those guys they run the transition break so fast. So I noticed some things that are a little bit different. I can tell you this difference in Montgomery, and this is not a whole South thing. This is a Montgomery thing.
Okay.
I came from Pike Road. In Montgomery, that river region area, Montgomery to Prattville down to Greenville, jokers are pressing you off the bus from the parking lot before the game. True. Like they're pressing you, and if you can handle the press, then they might back up and play basketball. Okay. Most people play basketball first, and then if they need to, they'll press you here and there.
Right.
But each region of the state has its particular style of play. Down south, it's a little bit slower. It's a lot more zone. They walking it up. They want 40, 50-point ball games. Up north, they want to get you in the 80s. You know what I mean? So it's just a little bit different.
Right.
So for me, trying to acclimate myself to what everybody else is doing and just to figure out what I can do better. How we can close the gap with our guys versus some of the other schools that have some 6'8s and 6'9s that we don't have. So trying to find an advantage for our kids to be able to experience success. Another big difference is there are so many AAU teams up here, and that's the thing that's growing nationwide. It's just way more teams. The quality of the teams, there's talent gaps, but there's an opportunity for kids to play. It hadn't always been like that. You had to make your team or make a team. I'm from Tuskegee. We didn't have a team. So if you're going to make a team, you got to go to Auburn and you got to go to Montgomery. And try to make one of those teams. You know what I mean? And so now it's a team. Man, there's so many teams and so many organizations. That's another thing where these kids are playing year round. And down south, they're not playing year round. They're playing football for 5 months. They might turn around and run track for 3 months. You know what I mean? So they're just not focusing solely on basketball.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. Who were some of your coaching mentors and influences that like inspired you to start coaching? Like who were some of your
Man,
mentors?
I got a list of guys that have poured into me, man. For one, my dad was a high school coach. Uh,
Okay,
my dad's a Hall of Fame coach. He got a couple got 3 championships, two boys, one girl. One girl he coached 20 years, varsity girls and boys for 20 straight years. Before he
that's
retired.
different. That's
So
different right there.
yeah, yeah. So he's at a 1 in high school, and he really that was my first interest into what do I want to do with my life when I get done playing basketball. I love the game, so I wanted to find a way to stay connected to the game, but not necessarily play it, anymore. So that's kind of how I jumped into coaching. I, so I'll say my dad first. I would say my high school basketball coach, who I didn't play for my dad. My dad, worked in Notasulga, and I was in Tuskegee, and he just commuted every day. My high school coach, he just retired a couple of years ago from public education. That joker taught 48 years. You know what I mean? So for him, it's way bigger than basketball. It's connection.
Right,
It is feeding kids. It is making guys feel included and creating a family atmosphere around basketball.
right,
I would say, and his name is Tom Torber. And he's he was one of my parents' church members. And so my dad and my high school coach, and then it's a young man by the name of Willie Williams. And Coach Williams gave me my first job. He gave me a job right out of college, and this was in Lee County, right outside of Auburn, and right outside of Opelika, in a community called Beauregard, which is very similar to a Madison County high school.
okay,
Very rural. Basketball wasn't. It was a football place, a baseball place, and he was a basketball coach, but he was also the football coach.
okay,
And he gave me my first job, and so I would say my playbook is probably close to 70% his. My offensive playbook, man, zone, transition stuff is mostly things that I got from him, and I've added things and tweaked things to fit, my what I like and my kids' skill set. But
right,
I would say those three, and the fourth guy is a guy named Dwayne Drakeford. And Coach Drakeford, I worked with him my last year in Beauregard, and he taught me a lot about dealing with people and dealing with power structure, dealing with administrators, dealing with central office people, and just a lot of things that you need to have as a head coach. That
right.
all of the basketball stuff that's non-basketball.
Outside of X's and O's, right? True.
Outside of basketball, it was money things and fundraising and just uniformity. Just your coaching staff, and like we had a lot of long conversations, and we still do. Speak. So I think those four guys, coaching wise, poured into me a lot. In my early journeys, and then it just been I'm like a sponge. I talk to anybody. I don't always have to agree. But I talk to anybody, man, I exchange ideas. I steal little concepts from here and there. I watch college games, NBA games, high school games, women's basketball, and I just steal little concepts here and there, and just drop those things inside of what we already doing. And
True.
so I we always looking to improve. We always looking to learn. We always looking trying to find ways to be better. We all feel like our best days are ahead and not behind us. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's just how I live.
That's what's up. It sound like it sound like you come up around a bunch of good guys, and all of them play, all of them put a brick into that house that I'm looking at right now to get
Most
that
definitely.
foundation. So
Most definitely.
that's
Most
dope
definitely.
right there.
Yeah,
That's dope
man.
right
You don't coach, 22 years and have the ups and downs that I've had and be consistent without having a village around you. We have some good days and some bad days. In this profession of coaching and teaching and trying to shape and mold the minds and lives of young people. That's a privilege and an honor. Something that I don't take it lightly. You know what I mean? I realize that we're judged based on wins, and so my job is to win. But
right
we're also judged on the productivity of the people that we coach. Are we raising guys to be, good fathers and good members of the community? Are guys pouring into their communities and making things better, or are guys taking from their community and not finding ways to give back? So all of those things are connected to a team and connected to family and connected to a community and the environment. And so, what I've learned is I will play hard for myself, but I'll play that much harder for my teammates. I'll play that
Right.
much harder for my family. You know what I mean? If I have something that's motivating me outside of my own needs, we can get a whole lot more accomplished. It's all about togetherness, and it's all about you know uh, trying to find a way to take all these kids and create the best whole. That
True.
our team family is first, and then individually, what your heart wants is second. Or I want you to be all area. I want you to be all state. I want you to sign. I want you to have a signing day with your family and your friends that cheer you on. I want that for you. But it
Right.
got to be about our team success first. So that's just something that we're preaching. And our kids buying in, man. Our kids work extremely hard. They small, not a big group of guys, but they scrappy and they work hard. You know what I mean? And so our preseason has been going really good, and we're just trying to stack days, honestly. Trying to get
True.
enough really good days in a row that we can possibly, I want people to be able to see the work these kids been doing without our kids talking about it.
True. Gotcha.
You know what I mean? It's all about the product that we putting on the floor. Like we gotta have a good product. And so our kids are hearing that, man. We were in a lot of games last year that we lost, but we were in those games, and if we can execute a little bit better, late in game, we win some of those games. We lost a lot of games by 2 and 4 points, which is 2 possessions.
Yeah.
And I can find 20 or 30 defensive mistakes. We're not making free throws and we turning the ball over, at a high level last year. So we able to clean that stuff up, man. We should be able to make a little bit of noise.
Thanks. Hey, Coach. So you said 22 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So out of the 22 years, and this just I just thought of this. So you've been coaching 22 years. So you the coach during the social media era and before the social media area. Is there a is there an effect that the social media area brings to basketball and the difference in kids?
I think human beings, especially young ones, of each time period, have their things that they got to try to figure out.
True.
So I tell the kids often, I didn't even have a cell phone until I was maybe November or December my freshman year of college. I didn't have a cell phone. You know what I mean? And it wasn't because everybody had cell phones and I just didn't have one. They just were not out like that. They just were not readily available. And I remember all of those things that led up into the iPhone and things that led up into social media. I remember all of those, 300 minutes and that you have to buy. And
First
I remember
minute free.
all free after 9 and then free after 7.
Yeah.
And so I remember all this. These kids they have never lived in a world without it being so digital and so technical. This is all they know. You know what I mean? So the things that we know, they just don't really know. And so I try not to focus on that so much. I try to limit it some. I talk to them about their social media. I talk to them about their screen time. I talk to them, and that's video games too. I talk to them about I just told a young man today, your creative player should not have more hours on the court than the real you.
True.
This creative player on 2K, creative player got more practice time than you got. He got more gym reps than you got. How can that be? So there is a big difference. But at the end of the day, the kids that I taught in 04 and 05, they were dealing with what they were dealing with too. They were dealing with what they were dealing with. And if you were those kids I was working with were some rural kids. Kids inside Birmingham were dealing with what they were dealing with. Kids inside Huntsville were dealing with whatever they were dealing with at the time. So there are always going to be distractions. There are always going to be for young men, young ladies. There's always going to be some type of trap. the what we have to do is help them, like not live for them, but help them navigate these traps. You
Right.
know, whether it be drinking, whether it be partying, whether it's gambling, whether it's you know what I mean,
Right.
drugs or vaping or just decision making, or if it's attitude, if it's temperament. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like we have to find ways to connect with them. You know, I heard Coach K say something, you know, a while ago. And what he said was, it's our job to connect to them. It's not their job to connect to us. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
They just don't know how to. They don't have the lived experience. So imagine you in class and I'm the Spanish teacher, you in Spanish 1, you just trying to learn, and I'm speaking to you like you in Spanish 3. It's impossible for you to succeed. I
Right.
have to be able to come meet you where you are. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And from the time I meet you where you are, now we can start to make some growth and some progress. But so,
True.
you know, there are some differences though. Attention span, social media, you know, with the TikTok and the shorts, our kids' attention spans are definitely a little bit shorter than what they were 10 years ago. You know what I mean? The average kid
Yes.
attention span is normally half his age in seconds. So if a kid is 16 years old, his attention span is about 8 or 9 seconds. Well,
I
now
ain't
it's
know that.
about 3 or 4. Yeah.
I
Now
ain't
it's
know that.
about 3 or 4. Yeah, man. But you know, like so teaching and being around kids and understanding kind of how their minds work, you got to keep them engaged. You know, you can't let them stand around too long. You have to keep them moving. The more they're moving, the more their body kind of goes in autopilot. And, you know, before you know it, they're working hard, but they're having fun, you know. And
Right.
so when you standing too long, or for myself, if I talk too long, you know, and too long being, if I talk for 1 minute, somebody somewhere then already gone left. You know what I mean?
Right.
So just kind of knowing how young people minds are, and so just keeping them intrigued and keeping them kind of locked, what the young people call locked in. Now
Yeah.
we gotta
Yeah.
keep them locked in. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that's a part of it
Yeah.
for sure.
I agree with that, coach. And I like that. I learned something right there. That quick. You taught me something.
Right.
Switched up a little bit. So what would you say separates a good player from a great player at the high school level? If it's even a such thing as a great player at the high school level.
You know, great players are number one. You have a blessing from God, whether it's size, whether it's speed, whether it's jumping ability. So you know you have something that other people don't have, for one. You know, and
Okay.
if guys are able to tap into their gift early enough, you know you become more special when you learn how to play basketball. Like there's a lot of guys you see they just bigger and stronger than everybody, faster than everybody when they're in the 7th grade, and they get to the 10th grade and that kid is not as good anymore because everybody has caught up. So some
Right.
kids mature early, some kids mature later, some kids blossom later. You know, there has to be a certain level of work ethic that a great player possesses. Great players make the game easy for their teammates. You know,
Right.
great players. Uh, the game kind of comes easy to them. You know, and so you know you can see it. Like a kid that's gonna be Power 5, say a Power 5 kid, a Power 5 athlete, a kid that's going to Auburn or Alabama, or a
Right.
kid that's
Okay.
going to Georgia, or a kid that's going to Vanderbilt. No, the kid Gabe Mayfield just committed yesterday to Vanderbilt.
Okay.
When you have a Power 4 kid, it's very easy for a person that's not really into sports. It's very easy to see that, damn, this person stands out. Like this he jumps out at me. You know what I
Right.
mean? Uh, if you have a kid that's a group of 5, and I'm just talking about basketball. If you have a
Okay.
kid that's a group of 5, he also may jump, but you may see that he may struggle going to Alabama. Like he might thrive at Kennesaw. You know what I mean? And if he goes to
Right.
Kennesaw and he kills for 2 years, he's not gonna be at Kennesaw. But if he goes to
Right.
Kennesaw for a year and he really, really struggles, he probably gonna go down. You know what I mean? So now I would definitely say size, speed, you know, the measurables, athleticism, but his ability to process, his ability to make his teammates better, to make the game easier for his teammates. Great players want to be coached. You know, they want to be challenged. they're not necessarily motivated just by winning, because if a kid is great, he wins a lot. And the tricky part is, this is where a lot of people, this is the tricky part of basketball. This is the tricky part of high school. If I have a kid and he's really good, he's really talented, he probably could get away with murder in high school. Not literally, but on the basketball court. He probably could do a lot of things bad. And now this kid goes to college and he has to reinvent himself. He has to learn how to sprint back on defense. He has to learn how to move without the ball. In high school or in middle school, he always had the ball. So he never had to play off the ball. A lot of kids, when they start getting challenged, that's where you start to see kids say, I lost love for the game. Well, I don't know if that's a fair thing to say, that you lost love for the game. You were used to playing basketball a certain way, whether it's having the ball in your hands all the time, whether it's playing all the minutes, whether it's being allowed to make all the mistakes and never coming out. You got a ton of rope, and you just get to stay in the game no matter what you do. No matter if you got bad body language, you walk back, you turn the ball over, you walk back, you point at people, you know your body, just all that stuff. Then the kid goes and he's talented enough to go to the next level, and then he struggles on the next level trying to figure out, how do I impact this team? I come from high school and I averaged 25, and now coach not letting me take more than 2 or 3 dribbles. Now I'm being barked at over these things that my high school coach let me get away with. AAU coach let me get away with. So that's kind of where you see great players. A great player is going to be able to go from level to level, and I'm not saying he won't struggle, but he'll figure it out.
Right, he's gonna figure it out.
I remember watching Ben Simmons in college, and I was telling people that this guy's gonna be. Listen, I am not by any means disrespecting or anything to Ben Simmons. He's a better player than I ever was, and he made more money than I ever will make. But I watched him be the number 1 pick at LSU. Team didn't make the playoffs. I also watched Carmelo Anthony be a freshman and his team win a national championship in the same boat. Yeah. You know what I mean? So this game comes with struggles. It comes with playing all the game. It comes with maybe sitting on the bench. It comes with dealing with injuries. It comes with being a man. It comes with maybe not being a secondary player. Right. As a player of basketball, I've sat on the bench the whole game. I played the whole game. I've been the last man off the bench. I've been the first man off the bench. You know what I mean? This game operates in ebbs and flows like that. And so in this new design of what basketball is, I don't think right now I have one Power 5 player in my program. But I think I got 5 or 6 guys that can play NAIA, can play junior college, can maybe play D2 if they work hard enough, can play 4 or 5 years of college and have great careers and be really good and possibly be pros. You know what I mean? But I don't think I have a Power 5 guy right now. I may have a group of 5 guys. You know what I mean? But it's really gonna boil down to how hard they're willing to work, how viciously are they able to chase their dream. You know what I mean? And are they able to really give their all to this game of basketball? Are they able to give their all without any promises of anything in return? You know what I mean? I heard a wise man say, "Are you willing to sprint when the distance is unknown?" And that's something that our kids got to be able to do. You know what I mean? Our kids have got to be able to practice, play, film, take coaching, work hard, weight room, just everything. And maybe we don't win any game. And maybe you don't sign a scholarship. But if you're gonna sign a scholarship, these are things that got to be done. And there's nothing guaranteed on the back end. But if you don't do these things, you pretty much a guaranteed failure. So it's either you put out, either you go all in or you don't. You know what I mean? And that's really, and me personally, I'd rather lose than live with regret. You know what I mean? I know a lot of guys that were a whole lot better than me, and they didn't get a chance to play 4 or 5 years in college, and they were better than me in high school. But those guys have to live with that regret of maybe not knowing how far they could have took the game, not knowing what the game could have done for them. But I know what the game did for me. I'm in a new city. Moved my family to a new city. I've traveled all over the Southeast playing basketball. I've met some incredibly smart and talented people. And I'm able to give back to my communities, not just my basketball player, but to but to the students in my school. I just left campus. I just got home about an hour and a half ago, watched at our girls volleyball game. So I'm able to have an impact in relationships with our students, our student body, the other sports teams, just because I'm the basketball coach. It provides me a platform to be able to reach all students, even the ones I don't teach. You know what I mean? And so
that's what I feel.
just what it is.
I feel that. I'm gonna ask you, describe your coaching style in one word.
Coaching style in one word. Oh man, I would say about basketball. I would say passionate. I'm in that gym right now in our preseason. I'm in the gym, man, two days a week at 5:30 in the morning with our guys. You know what I mean? And so we trying to get some work done.
True.
Before most people even get up. You know what I mean? And I got all my players in my 4-block class. So every 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, we are competing during our class. I'm one of those guys where, again, I don't want to lose, but I'm okay with losing as long as we have flipped over every stone and we did everything we could do to be successful.
Right.
If you're better than us, then beat us and show us you're better than us. But what I'm not okay with is us beating ourselves or us not preparing to be the best version of ourselves. If we walk on that basketball court and we're the best version of ourselves, I'm gonna take us, and I'm gonna live with. However it go, that's how I go. I'm gonna live with it. You know what I mean? Because I trust the work that we do. I'm not somebody that's ever trying to cut no corners when it comes to basketball. I ain't looking for no shortcuts. I want to go the harder way. You know what I mean? Like down at Troy, they call it take the stairs. They're not trying to take the elevator. They're trying to take the stairs. At South Alabama, they call it. Their school motto is burn the boats. You know what I mean? What they saying is ain't gonna be no retreat. When we get here, we here, and we're not going backwards. We're trying to fight for what we want, and so that's just what type of time I'm on. I don't know everybody. I don't know. I've met some of the coaches, and I like some of the guys, but I'm up here to compete. You know what I mean? I'm up here to compete. I'm up here to instill a certain level of discipline and work ethic and just a certain level of pedigree into my boys that represent this northwest side of our county. If you don't have a double S on your if you don't have a double S on your shirt, man, I'm not really talking about you. You know what I mean? You just really a nameless, faceless person. You're just somebody that is in our way, and we got to go through you, and that comes from. And we got some really good teams, and we got some really good coaches. You know what I mean? We got a very competitive area, and our everybody that's not in our area but right next to us. And to me, you just
True.
you just somebody that we got to go through, and after that is whatever. You know what I mean?
That's what's up, Coach. True.
Sure.
I thought of this question, and I thought it was a good question. This question, I think, is a good question. Is your coaching style tactical or instinct driven?
I would say a little bit of both. I'm definitely a heady guy. I am not the biggest rah guy. I got some guys that coach and they turn their players up to the max. You know what I mean? And that's some coaches' biggest strength is they get their kids to play so freaking hard. You know what I mean? And my name for that is rah. It's a rah. They just kind of chest bumping, and that's not really what I do. To me, I'm more about not just X and O's, but timing and spacing and placement. I don't get wrapped up into a lot of emotions. Our kids have rivals. Our kids rivals with a couple of the schools. And our kids will be on 10 when they play Huntsville High. And our kids will be on 10 when they play Bob Jones. This has been going on since, forever. So our kids feel emotions that I don't feel. You know what I mean? For one, I'm grown, but for two, I'm not from here. For me, that five gonna walk on the floor. My five gonna walk on the floor, and I'm trying to take advantage of whatever I can take advantage of. All while we gonna limit you to one shot, and we gonna get a rebound, and we gonna try to do that every time down the floor. We gonna play good defense, gonna maintain leverage. We're gonna contest and box out, and we're gonna rebound the basketball. And so, if but that's just not me to rock. But I got guys on my staff that are. So I think the biggest thing is everybody all our coaches having a role and everybody, being true to themselves. If it's cool to be a raw guy, but that's just not me. So I definitely do go off instinct sometimes. Sometimes I will not call a timeout.
Right.
Sometimes I'll let our kids play through some stuff, and sometimes that's good and sometimes that's not good. Sometimes they make a great play, and or I call something out of a timeout and it get executed great and we don't make the shot. And sometimes we don't call anything and the kid heaves something up and it goes in, or sometimes we make a call and we get the shot we want and it go in and coach you the smartest man ever. You great. We lucky to have you. And I make that same call 3 days later.
Yeah.
Don't go in.
No, you're right. You're right.
Go back where you came from. So for me, it's just simple. I gotta make decisions that I can live with. And me putting the ball in our best player's hand in his spot at certain times, that's what we gonna do. And sometimes we'll run some more multi-screen action or something like that, and and the whole game will be predicated off pretty much, ball movement. We're just trying to find an avenue and put somebody in rotation, and then we're just playing basketball. We're playing basketball one-on-one. Eventually turn into driving kick. That's eventually what it turned into. Give and go, pick and roll. We're not trying to out trick everybody. We want to have a scheme that you don't necessarily know what we're doing every time we're doing it. You know what I mean? It's a game, and we're gonna play chess, and it's gonna be a chess game, and that's what it's gonna be, and that's what it's gonna be every night out. I don't necessarily think that we're going to be 20 and 30 point favorites over anybody. I think a lot of these games are gonna come down to the final 3 or 4 minutes of the game. It's gonna come down to who can execute, who can get a stop, who's gonna make free throws, who's not gonna panic, who's gonna take care of the ball. That's what it's gonna come down to. A lot of these games. I think this 7A classification, it is very well coached. There are not a lot of bad coaches in 7A. These guys do a really good job of preparing their teams. I think one of the big differences between 7A and the other classifications is the physicality of 7A. It's so doggone physical. These guys are big and strong, and so you may have a kid and he's really skilled. If he can't handle the physicality of the game, for 30 games, he gonna break down. You know what I mean? So there has to be a physical component in this classification because it's such a big, and these guys are heavy and physical. You know what I mean? A lot of these kids are 18 and 19 years old. And these dudes are grown men. You know what I mean? And I got 4 seniors. I don't have one kid that's 18. I don't have one kid on my team as of today that's 18 years old. So not only do we have a small team, we have a young group. They're young. Even though I got 4 seniors, I got 17-year-old seniors. I got a few juniors. They're right now just turned 16-year-old juniors. So I got young guys where most juniors are 17. So that's something that we got to account for is the amount of reclassing going on, but it's everywhere and it's a thing. And so our kids got to deal with it. Again, man, we gonna fight fire with fire a lot, and we just not really gonna get pushed around. Like our kids in the weight room multiple times a day. We're gonna play a nice, physical, fast, fun style of basketball. We're gonna be fun to watch. We're gonna be competitive. We're gonna be tough, and we're gonna be sound. You know what I mean? We're gonna be sound. It's not gonna be a ton of ISO. It's not gonna be a ton of dribble. It will be some, but it won't be a ton. It's gonna be a lot of amateur basketball. It's gonna be a lot of ball movement, a lot of player movement, and then we gotta make some quick reads, and we gotta make some keen decisions.
I can't wait to see it, Coach. I want to ask you this. So, of course, you got a lot of talent at Sparkman. You got a lot of young talent. Like you just said, you got a lot of young talent, especially at the guard spot. What could one do to separate himself for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, what can one at that guard spot? What can he do to separate himself from the others and stand out to you? Like, okay, I see you, boy.
one of the biggest things that guards have to do.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna give you a short list of what guards have to be able to do, especially guards that are under 6'3" and 6'4". You got to have the ability to guard the basketball. You know what I mean? You are what you can guard. So I got a guy that he wants to be a
Yeah.
two guard, but you can't guard the two. You're not a two. You got to be able to guard. And I think that's one of those things that that kind of gets lost. I got a kid that can score 20, 30 points, but he gives up 32 points. You didn't score anything. You didn't do anything to impact winning. So, and I had that conversation with a young man today. We doing a little fall league, and he had 20 points the other day, but his team got creamed. That's not winning basketball that you score all these points. But what other impact do you have? So I would say number one, the ability to. The first thing is to go without saying,
Right.
handle the ball without turning it over. That goes without saying. Be able to handle the basketball. You can't be a guard. You can't handle the ball. You got to be able to handle the basketball. But then we want to be able to pass the ball and be able to make good choices. But your ability to defend is something that's going to separate you when it comes to me. If you can pick up and make people's lives miserable, 94 feet, you got a spot on my team. I got a jersey for you if you can do that. If you're willing to do that, because you're expending so much energy on the floor. So to get yourself in shape to be able to do that is something that I really, really respect. Another thing is, a player's ability to make his teammates better. A guard's ability to create offense for his teammates, to create open shots, to be able to get his bigs some touches when they're running in transition, to be able to get his bigs some easy layups on drive and drops. So if you got a big and he's comfortable playing out the post, to be able to make good post entry passes. These things are crucial to the success of your overall team. Is a guard that does his job, that he's a smart and intelligent kid. He understands multiple spots, so I can put him anywhere on the floor in any set or any offense that we run, and he's able to thrive on either wing. He's able to thrive from the point. I can play him out of the corners, depending on what sets we in. We could be in a horn set, we could be in a flex set, and we could be in, some motion, or we could be in, so a kid to be able to thrive on ball and off ball. And the guy that's gonna make open shots. A guy that's gonna take good shots. I got some guy that can take some tough shots and can make some tough shots. You know what I mean? And that's a blessing to have guys that can take and make tough shots. But I'm telling you every day, my job is to make it where you don't have to take a ton of tough shots. We're gonna get you some open shots. But the ball gotta move. Ball can't stick. You know what I mean? Ball gotta move. Sometimes you gotta pass one up for the betterment of everybody. You might have a good shot, but your teammate might have a great shot. You gotta get off of it. You know what I mean? So convincing them that sometimes from an individual, less is more. Like this is one of the biggest issues at Sparkman. I feel like, and this is a big, big challenge. Maybe at all 7A schools, but for certainly mine. You know what I mean?
Okay.
For absolute certainty. Like you said, our team is predominantly guards. I got 30 kids in our program right now. That's 9 through 12. We got about 30 kids in our program. And out of all these kids, they all would consider themselves a guard. You know what I mean? Like, nobody in our program taller than 6'6". That's the tallest guy I got in the program. All these guys would consider themselves guards. On the varsity, we got 12 guys, 9 guards. On the JV, we have 11 players. 11 players on the JV, 8 guards. You know what I mean? So I got these big boys that are not big. I got big boys in my JV that are 6'2" and 6'3".
Right.
These guys are not 6'8" and 6'9". And I got all these guards, so I'm rotating 2 and 3 bigs to play a 4 and a 5. But to play out 1 through 3, I got 9 guys all vying for the same slice of minutes and the same
they can play.
And
That's
they
good.
move. So this is something that I learned when I got to Sparkman. That as much success as Sparkman has had over the years, there has not been that many 1,000-point scorers for boys basketball. And we've had some really, really talented players that come through there. A lot of guys that can really. And I talk to them right now. We got one at Oakwood, we got one at Stillman, we got one at Spring Hill College. These are young guys. We got one guy at Benedict College. And these guys all graduated within the last year or two. We got a bunch of guys that played at UT Southern. You know, these guys have just played all kind of schools, King University in South Carolina, or maybe in Tennessee. But we got a ton of guys that have gone on have played or are playing college basketball. But because we're so guard oriented, because we have so many guys can put the ball on the floor and so many guys can shoot, that the only way to make it work is nobody's going to average 20. Nobody's going to average 30. Nobody's going to shoot the ball 15, 18 times a game. You know,
Right.
That we're going to have the ultimate balanced approach. You know, and that's a good way to play basketball, but it's also a tough way to play basketball. You know, I got two fairly large middle schools. So I imagine an 8th grader that don't come out the game. He don't come out the game. You know, and I got two sets of these. I got one at Monrovia, one at Sparkman.
Yeah.
Play the whole game. And then they get to 9th grade, and now all of a sudden, I might have to come off the bench. Or I may start, but coach sub me at the 4-minute mark. Or coach sub me at the 3-minute mark. You know, or I got a guy that's behind me that is just as good as me. Or maybe I'm better than him, but I ain't this much better. You know, or you know, I got a heck of a group of freshmen right now, and they all playing JV. They're not playing freshman basketball. They're playing JV. Got 5 of them. And I got 6 sophomores. That's the 11 guys on the JV, and these guys can play. You know,
that's 11 young guys that can play ball.
11 young dogs. So to get them to understand that we are going to be more successful but you may not get to shoot the ball like you shoot on your AAU team. You know, you may not be able to take those same shots because I'm not going to let you take a bunch of fallaways on one leg. Not saying that the AAU coach is going to allow that, but I'm definitely not. You know, I'm not going. I don't want the ball unless we get a layup. I want multiple people touching the ball on the fast break. I don't want one guy to keep the whole time. I want the ball to move. I want the ball to get reversed. I'm encouraging ball movement so that our group can get the best possible shot. That might be you. That might be you, coach, taking 3 shots in a row. It might be you, but it also might be you that goes 5 possessions and don't shoot it at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got it. Most of us, we good with the sweet, but we're not good with the bitter. If I ask a kid, hey man, hey listen, such and such sick, such and such hurt, I need you to shoot 7 more balls tonight. Yeah, coach, I can do that. I need you to play, you know, 7, 8 more minutes. I might push your minutes up. You know, you might be playing almost the whole game. Yeah, come with that. But what happened when I ask you to shoot? What happened when I ask you to shoot 4 less? So that this guy can get a couple more shots. So that your teammate can thrive as well as you can thrive. For our kids to understand that Sparkman is the 3rd largest school in the state of Alabama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're graduating 550 kids a class. You know, and so with I got 550 11th graders, I got 550 freshmen, I got 550 seniors. You know what I mean? And it's not a 1A, 2A high school. These kids can play.
Yeah.
You don't have, for me to convince our kid, you don't have to play 4 years on the varsity at 30 points. Everybody is not going to go to Caleb Holt route. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to average 25 points for 5 years and break all the scoring records in order for you to get your goal. It's just hopefully to win a state championship. And if your goal is to play basketball beyond high school, we can help you with that. Nobody's going to ask you to walk in as a freshman and score 30 points. Even if you average 25 in high school, there's going to be a guy on that team that's already all conference. He's going to get the majority of that opportunity to score that ball. They're going to run the majority of those plays to him, and they won't be you. So if you've been ball dominant, you better learn how to not be ball dominant so you can get on the floor as a freshman. You know, most of these colleges not even taking freshmen anyway. You know what I mean? They're taking JUCO guys and prep guys. You know, they're taking guys that have graduated, sat out a year, and now he's 19, 20. That's what you're up against. So you can't go in thinking somebody owe you something. You can't go in as a diva. You got to go in as a workhorse. So I'm just creating that environment right now. So when our kids leave us, they're able to thrive. Yeah, they're able to thrive. We practice, you know, my varsity, they practice at 6 in the morning. That's our practice. You know what I mean? We practice doing 4 blocks too, but we practice doing our varsity practice at 6 a.m. They got to be in the gym about 15 minutes before 6. That's what college practice look like. Everybody not practicing at 5 or 6 in the evening time. You know, you got to go to class. You got to go to film study. You got to go to weights. You got to go to recovery. You know, you got to go to tutoring. Your entire day is pretty much playing. Now, you might get back in the gym in the evening time to get you some shots up. on your individual game, but the team aspect, the team concept, that stuff all being done first thing in the morning. So if our kids aren't accustomed to that, then I'm setting them up for failure before they even get to college. Right. I'm not even giving them a chance by letting them talk back, by letting them get away with, being not on time and not having a punishment, with getting in trouble in class, with not getting their assignments done. I'm pretty much saying that's okay, and it's not okay. We just got expectations and standards, man, and those things this is a skeleton of our program, is to have young men that are responsible individually, that are accountable to each other, that love each other. It's gonna put our team before the individual person.
True. Hey, Coach, man, I'm learning so much. I'm having fun with this one. Hey, I got some. I call these out the door fun questions.
Okay.
I got two of them for you.
All right.
If you could pick any previous NBA Finals to attend, which one would it be and why?
Previous NBA Finals to attend. So one that has already passed, but I can be there to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh.
It can even be before you was born. Any previous NBA Finals that you could pick to choose, which would it be and why?
I would say, and I'm a Jordan person. I'm not like the LeBron person. But I respect LeBron, love LeBron. Don't got no problem with LeBron. Don't really have a ton of critiques of LeBron. But I think Jordan the best. But to answer your question, LeBron James had a crazy fourth quarter. He was playing with the Heat. Somebody missed a shot, offensive rebound, kicked the Ray Allen in the corner. This is against the Spurs. Ray Allen hit the three, and that pushes the game to game 7. If I could have been there to see that shot, that would be dope.
Yeah.
I think Magic Johnson, 1979, a rookie. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar gets hurt. The Lakers think they defeated. Magic Johnson get on the team bus and say, never fear Magic here. And we're going to win this game. I'm going to play center.
Play the center.
And Joker had about a triple-double, 30 in. He had like a crazy stat line, and they won the finals, and he won finals MVP. Those games would have been amazing to see. Man, probably one of my favorite basketball teams of all time. Probably the 04 Pistons. To see anything that they did.
Me too. I love that team.
04 Pistons, 08 Celtics. I'm a KG guy. I'm a Rasheed Wallace guy. I'm all about tough and physical and and not friendly. You know what I mean? Not friendly. Like I talk to our kids about. My boys are very nice. Got very nice kids. They raised right. They go to church. They got great families. My kids are not fighting over a bologna sandwich. You know what I mean? I talk to them about being able to go deeper into themselves, tapping into their inner dragon and how much fire can they breathe, how willing are they to spit fire on some of these guys around here that they grew up with, that they play AAU with, that they, guys have transferred and guys have moved. When you see your friend, and he could be your friend off the court, like I don't got no problem with that. You step into that line, it's us or nobody. You know what I mean? You step inside that square, like we don't even know this dude. That's what it better look like to me. You know what I mean? Yeah. If I feel like you're taking it easy on your homeboy, you're gonna have a problem with me. You know what I mean? So I typically like blue collar, tough nose, just tough, gritty places and people and teams. That's what I identify with. You know what I mean? I don't identify with always having the most talent and having a LeBron or having a Kevin Durant, having a protege. I like them dudes like Chauncey Billups. I like them dudes that bounced around team to team before they found their fit. I like those guys. Patrick Beverly's story, is an amazing story. Man, this dude averaged 30 in Chicago. He averaged 30 in high school. But our kids only know him playing defense and averaging about 7 points for a career. They don't know this dude was an absolute bucket in high school. Yep. They don't understand sacrificing your game for your team. You know, for a dude like Pat Bell, he couldn't even get in the league if he's trying to come in and score. Because you ain't even gonna get the ball. So you better figure out a way how to get in that room and stay in that room. And that joker probably had a 13, 14-year career. You know, playing defense, by being grimy, by being gritty and tough and getting in your face. You know, so I kind of just identify with that, just very physical. So I'll hit you up, but I'm gonna knock you back down. You know, and I ain't gonna be smiling when you do it either. You know what I mean? And we can be cool after the game, but man, not right now.
Yeah. Also, Detroit Pistons style.
Yeah, man. I kind of identify with having a gang of what people would deem misfits and rejects and people that everybody had gave up on. You know, that it was a Warriors team with Baron Davis, and they were 8 seed, and I want to say they beat the Mavericks, who was a 1 seed, like that Golden State Warriors team.
Antoine Jameson now,
yeah. That's the type of time I'm on. Yeah, I'm on that type of time.
Jackson.
Monte Ellis.
Yeah,
I'm on that kind
I
of
love that team.
You know what I mean? Yeah, man. So I don't always agree with everything they do and how they live, but their mentality on the basketball court and their family unit off the basketball court. You know, I kind of identify with that.
True.
Yes, indeed.
True. I got one more, Coach. Right. This one right here, different. I ain't never asked nobody this question out the door.
Okay.
Baked ribs or barbecue ribs, and can you throw down?
Oh man, I'm gonna throw you a curveball. I don't eat pork, so I don't eat any ribs.
Okay.
But I won't say that I can throw down on the grill. I will say that I can get some chicken wings right. You know what I mean? I make some chicken wings. I cook some burgers or some turkey burgers or something like that.
Okay.
I'm not a chef, but we ain't gonna starve either, and it ain't gonna be nasty. You know, right. I might get on the grill. I might get on the grill twice a year, maybe twice a year. Okay. I'm not one of them guys that's gonna be on the grill all the time. You know, there are people that can cook better than me, and there are people that love to cook. That they show their love through the food that they prepare. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I would rather eat with that person who really enjoys cooking, and he or she's gonna put that love and time into preparation of that dish.
They gonna make you taste their food. Here, try it.
They so proud of it. It's like being proud of your kids when they do something good. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man, I wouldn't go so far as to disrespect all the great chefs by saying I can burn, I can throw down. But I definitely can. I definitely can do a little something on there. You know, I can do enough. We'll eat good and we'll be happy. You know, we can fellowship. You know what I mean? Over some food. You know, we can have some great conversation. We can have some great times. You know, we can make some memorable moments over my food. You know what I mean? And so I can do a little bit.
True.
For sure.
Hey, Coach. This was fun, man. This was definitely fun for me. So I know the viewers gonna love it. I feel like I got a chance to know you. They gonna get a chance to know you. I can't wait to put this one out.
Good, man. I'm glad, man. I'm glad we able to meet, man. You come highly recommended. You know, you asked some great questions, and you know, I'm glad you're able to learn a little bit about me and learn a little bit about my philosophy when it comes to basketball and when it comes to development of young men, of young people, of young minds and young hearts. You know what I mean? I just feel very strongly that this group of kids can be really good, and these kids are gonna replace us. You know what I mean? We gotta teach. They're gonna be coaching. They're gonna be interviewing. They're gonna be the police. They're gonna be the mayors. They're gonna be the school teachers. They're gonna be the nurses.
True.
You know what I mean? Basketball for all of us, football for all of us. That ball gonna deflate. So you gotta have another something else in your back pocket. You know that you're good at, that you enjoy, that our whole identity is in basketball, even if we are really, really good at it. You know, but we also gonna keep the main thing. We're gonna try to put out the best product we can put on that basketball court, so we can get Sparkman back to having some success on this hardwood, because we need that. You know, our side needs that. Our kids deserve that. Their parents deserve that. You know, our community, our student body. they've been waiting for what I call Sparkman is a sleeping giant. It's almost
Right.
1,850 kids. This is a humongous school. It is just a sleeping giant, and we just got to get ourselves off the mat. We just got to show the heart of a champion, and we make no excuses. We make no quarrels about what we have and what we don't have. We gonna put 5 guys on the floor, and the other team gonna put their 5 on the floor, and it's gonna be go time. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to having a great and successful and competitive year with these guys, and I think our guys gonna continue to get better.
True.
And that's what we pushing. We pushing for our kids to be the best version they can be. When February roll around, we want to be the best. That we want to be clicking on all cylinders. Maybe not so much early, but definitely later. We want to have it all.
Definitely later.
We want to have it all fixed out and have it all ironed out. And so that's our goal. It's a tough schedule. I tell everybody this, man. Coming to see the schedule up here. We have no games that you can walk in and not play your best. We got no warm-up games. We open up with Jemison. Boom. Next night, Bob Jones. Boom. You know what I mean? The next game, Hazel Green. Boom. Next game, JC. It's a very, very competitive schedule.
Every night.
Every night. We don't have any small schools on there. We don't have anybody on our schedule that we just gonna be able to walk in and walk by and not respect them, and we're gonna just beat them. Man, we don't even want that either. We don't even want that. We want to be in environments where our best is required every day. We working on that. Every day in practice, every day in our workouts, every day in our class. We constantly challenging our kids on ways that can be better. And again, it's all about stacking days with us. So, but yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I hope your viewers, really check this interview out, man, and come and give us a watch. We open up
At the
November
Capitol.
6th. At the Capitol, man. We got Major Jim Cole Pete and them coming in. We played him this summer. He got a good group, man. He does a good job with the guys, and so that's something that I'm looking forward to. Is tipping this season off, man, and getting it going at home. And so I love it, and we're gonna be ready.
Hey, y'all, come check out the Sparkman Senators at the Capitol Hill. That's what it's called, right? The Capitol Hill.
The Capitol, yeah, the Capitol. I ain't never heard the Hill, but
yeah,
Capitol,
okay, the Capitol,
man, for sure.
Yeah, because my partner Jannar, he always be messing with me. When you get over here to this Capitol,
Capitol Hill makes sense, though. Capitol Hill makes sense. Capitol Hill makes sense.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate
you. Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you for coming, Coach. This is another episode
Yes,
of I Said What We Said, and we out.